Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Muhammad. This is Heavy Metal FPL. In this video, we're going to react to Game Week 16 and prepare for Game Week 17. First order of business is we have to talk about Erling Haaland. Now, Haaland was announced injured after the Game Week 16 deadline. And luckily for me, I had Salah as my vice captain, so I got to take advantage of all the points that Salah got during his match. He got a goal and an assist as my captain. His points doubled, so that was a really good haul over there. I got lucky with that. But now Haaland is a major doubt for the next match against Crystal Palace, and he is not going to be available for Game Week 18 due to Man City having a blank. Now, there's a lot of different reports coming out on whether he might be available or not. Most of them are leaning towards him not being available. I am willing to hold on for now until hopefully we get a clearer picture. We get some news that he might be starting or something like that. The reason I'm willing to hold on, even though a lot of people are selling, is because I think there's more benefit to having Haaland while others don't, as opposed to not having Haaland. And, the cost of that while some others might have him. So I'm willing to hold on because having him as a differential in your team would be a fantastic benefit. I want to talk about some of the teams that are not in form at the moment. So I'll start off with Chelsea. Now, this is not news to a lot of people, but Chelsea are still struggling to break teams down, especially those that play very defensively against them. They still have a very good fixture run, and I'm hoping that Cole Palmer, I got him because he's cheap, and I think that's still the best way to invest into Chelsea's attack. Go for the one that's cheap and won't cost you so much money. That is Cole Palmer for me. He's also on penalties. So I'm hoping he gets something out of this good run of fixtures. I also got Robert Sanchez. Unfortunately, he's been flagged with an injury and he's a doubt for their next game. Man United, they showed a bit of hope when they won 2-1 against Chelsea, but they again went back to their roots of being really bad, and they lost 3-0 at home versus Bournemouth, and they looked really, really bad. Bruno Fernandes is now suspended for their next match, which is going to be against Liverpool in Anfield. The reason I'm mentioning this is because I think Salah has a very good captain shout for Game Week 17. He's gonna be, he's gonna be rallied by that home crowd, and they're gonna play against Old Trafford, and they're gonna want to pile on to Man United's miseries. Latest is Newcastle. Now, for the second time in 2 games, they have lost by a 3-goal margin. Their squad is stretched thin as a result of a lot of injuries, and they play in Europe. They have a crunch tie against AC Milan in the Champions League, and then they come back and they play against Fulham at home without Trippier. And Fulham are currently in form. So Newcastle kind of losing their form a little bit there, maybe not looking as good as they were earlier in the season. Next, I want to talk about some of the teams that are currently in form. So I'll start off with Bournemouth. 4 wins out of their last 5 matches. The latest being that impressive 3-0 win against United at Old Trafford. Bournemouth's standout picks are Solanke in attack. And in defense, they've got Senesi, who has gotten 2 clean sheets in a row and 2 goals scored in each of those matches. So 2 double-digit hauls, basically. Bournemouth have 3 very good fixtures in a row, and they're looking like a good team. Fulham next. Now, Fulham, one interesting statistic, they've gotten 17 goals in their last 3 matches, with their last match being a 5-0 win against West Ham. So they're playing some free-flowing, attacking football. Their top picks are Leno in goalie and Raul Jimenez as a budget pick for your forward line at about 5.4 million. Now, Fulham's fixtures are also pretty good. Everton next. Now, they're playing like a typical Sean Dyche team. They've kept 2 clean sheets in their last 2 matches. They won against Newcastle and then against Chelsea, making them pretty good. I think Doucouré is their standout pick, though you have to keep in mind that their fixtures are going to take a very hard turn very soon. Doucouré, I think what makes him very appealing is also that he's not going to leave for AFCON. He announced that he's not going to go and play for Mali. And but I think he's the only one that stands out for them. He's differential. He's been good all season as a differential pick. And we can't talk about teams that are in form without mentioning Aston Villa. I think they've made it clear that they want to challenge for the title this season by beating the top two contenders, first Man City and now Arsenal. So Aston Villa are fantastic at home. In away matches, their form is a bit shaky, but I think you can't ignore their top picks, which are Watkins in attack. He's soon going to be playing against Sheffield United at home, and I think everyone's going to want them for game week 18 during the blank, especially with now Haaland being injured. And in defense, to take advantage of the good fixtures that they have coming up, they've got Pau Torres. Since Cash, everyone has sold him, and he's not looking like a starter nowadays, but Pau Torres has been playing 90 minutes and is expected to start in every match that they have. I've got a list of the notable players here that are going to be missing due to AFCON and AFC, and that is in game week 21 and can extend all the way up until game week 24. Now, the lack of availability of these players is going to be dependent on how far their national team progresses in those competitions. So, for example, if South Korea make it all the way until the end of the AFC, then Son is going to be missing from game week 21 all the way until game week 24. Same goes for Salah with Egypt, and so on. The strategy for all these players is that think twice before getting them in, first of all. Second thing is start to look at selling them as we approach game week 21. I think the exceptions to that are Son and Salah. You want to keep them until the very last second and take advantage of every second that they're still playing for their clubs. My team did very well in game week 16. I got a total of 57 points. I advanced in the rankings, so I'm now up to about 350k. And I also rose up in my mini leagues, but at what cost? I've now got an injury crisis on my hands. I've got a lot of players who are flagged either for being suspended or for being missing or for being injured. So I'll go through those issues. My initial plan for game week 17 was that I was going to sell Martinelli, but it seems like he's going to survive in my team for one more week, because I've got a lot of other issues to deal with. Obviously, this Haaland issue has thrown a wrench in my plans, and I've got a bunch of other stuff to deal with. So first, there's Sanchez. He's a doubt for next game week, and I'm hoping that he starts. It's still unclear as of the moment whether he's going to start or not, and I would like him for that Sheffield United at home fixture. Trippier is a sure miss. He is suspended due to getting 5 yellow cards, so he'll miss Fulham at home, unfortunately, and I've got no one to sub in for him because on my bench, Taylor is also suspended for the same reason, and Mitchell is out with injury and is looking likely to be missing his next fixture. And anyways, it's against Man City away, not necessarily the best fixture for a defender. So it's looking like I'm only going to have 2 defenders going into game week 17, and I might have to take a hit either this week or next week to address all of these issues. So I'm going to have to see how that goes. So I'm either going to sell Trippier, but I'm not fully in favor of that. A lot of people are doing it, but I still like Trippier for the upcoming 2 fixtures after this one. They've got 2 easy ones. What looks better for me is potentially if I upgrade Mitchell to someone like Pedro Porro, because this solves 2 issues for me. First of all, I'll get a full defensive lineup for game week 17, and also I'll address my bench and make it stronger. So with the upcoming congested fixture list, I would like to have a strong bench, and this solves that issue. So potentially Mitchell to Pedro Porro. I'll go into more detail on that in the upcoming later in this video. Now, for my midfield, I think it looks okay for the next week, barring the Martinelli issue. I want to put the captaincy on Salah, given his fixture against a struggling Man United since he plays at Anfield. In attack, Haaland is obviously a doubt. I addressed that earlier, so I'm going to see how he fares up. Hopefully, he starts the next match against Crystal Palace at home. It's a very good fixture, and he could potentially haul in that one. Alvarez, I think this will possibly be his last week in my team. I'm either going to take him off or I'm going to take Haaland off because I want Watkins in my team. I could also take him off for Solanke, but I definitely want to keep him for the next week because with Haaland off, that means Alvarez potentially comes into that number 9 spot for City. He didn't look so good in the last match, but I still think he'll be getting a lot of chances to score. And I think that will be his last chance for him in my team to get a good haul before I sell him off for his blank game week. Potential transfers. I'll start off with Haaland being the main issue. If I'm gonna sell him, I'm gonna look at these four options. I think they're the best, especially the first two. Number one being Watkins. I think he's a season keeper. He's good for short term. We're having Brentford away next, who are struggling a little bit, and then having Sheffield United for the blank in game week 18. I think he's a definite buy for your team, especially with Haaland being out potentially for 2 game weeks. So I want to get him in either this week or the next one. And next we've got Solanke. He's got 3 good fixtures upcoming. So I might potentially have Watkins and Solanke in my team as of game week 18. I'm looking at getting them both in for Haaland and Alvarez at some point. We've also got Jimenez for Fulham, who are in good form. But their next fixture is against Newcastle away. Not necessarily a favorable one, but he's a good punt and he's cheaper than the other two. And also we've got Cunha, but so we've got Huang, who's going to be leaving for AFC soon, but Cunha plays in that central forward position for Wolves, and he's looking good. He scored a goal in their last match. Wolves don't score a lot of goals though in their matches, so he's not as favorable as the other 3 options that you could replace Haaland with. I would say out of these 4, number 1 is Watkins, with a close second being Solanke. I think if you already have Watkins, you would potentially go for Solanke in your team, and Jimenez being the differential options out of the 4. Next, we've got Trippier. Now, I've got some reservations before selling Trippier. I think the fact that he's going to be missing the next game week is a well-needed rest for him, and that Newcastle team in general, I think, just needs a lot of rest. They look really, really tired as of their last showing against Tottenham. So this will serve him well, I think. And he's got 2 good fixtures coming up after suspension. So I think that is in his favor. For me, I want to upgrade Mitchell. I think that's just a better decision for my team. But if you want to sell Trippier, these are the 4 options. There is Trent, obviously, but he's very, very expensive. I think Pedro Porro is a better pick, being at 5.4 million and attacking for Tottenham. Now, out of the 2 teams that are in form, there's Mike Kolenko for Everton. He's at 4.5 million, plays as a left back for them, and they are currently in good form, though their fixtures aren't so good. Now, Pau Torres for Aston Villa is a good defensive shout. They have looked good in defense as of the last 2, but normally they're not like that. They won't be holding back defensively so much. They're an attacking team, and they usually lose their clean sheets. But if you want to get in on their defense, he's not my type of defender because he doesn't advance so much in attack. He did get a goal against Tottenham 3 game weeks ago as a result of a free kick, but that's not always going to happen. He is at 4.7 million, but I think the best 3 defenders to have in the game because of their attacking potential are Trippier, Trent, and Pedro Porro. If you want to address Trippier being suspended for the next game week, I would go for Pedro Porro. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with Trent. Just keep in mind, it's going to take off funds that you could potentially use elsewhere in your team. And he's got some hard fixtures, like not necessarily the easiest fixtures for your defense. Lastly, I want to talk about replacements for Sanchez. Now, he's not on my priority list to sell as of now because I'm unsure whether he's going to be injured or not. But if I was to sell him, I would look at these 4 options. Leno for Fulham is actually the top performing goalie as of now in all of FPL. He is a lot cheaper than one of your goalies that play for the premium teams like Liverpool, Man City, or all of those. So he's only at 4.7 million, but he's actually the top performing goalie asset in FPL. So I think he's the top choice. Also, I think a really, really good shout is Dubravka at only 4.1 million. Now, he's the substitute goalie for Newcastle, but he is for sure playing in all of their games because Pope is out injured all the way until April. So getting in on that Newcastle defense at such a small price is a very, very good bargain. We also have Pickford for Everton. I had him in my team for the first 8 game weeks, but unfortunately I sold him right before he started doing really, really well. So he's also really good. He plays for for a Sean Dyche team who look to be solid in defense. Though keep in mind though that their upcoming fixtures are good. Though when it comes to goalies though, I like to look at them as more long-term picks. I don't want to worry about my goalie throughout the season unless they get injured. So all of these I look at them as long-term picks. Ideally I just want to set them and forget them until my next wild card. Last, there is Neto for Bournemouth. He has kept 2 clean sheets in the last 2 games. So essentially, it's 3 goalies playing for the teams that have found their form as of recently, and 1 for Newcastle because I think they'll eventually find their form when they pick themselves up, and getting a goalie for them that is only at 4.1 million is a very, very good bargain. That wraps it up for this video, guys. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. I'm trying to hit 100 soon. I will have more videos before the game week deadline. That's gonna be late evening on Friday, so it's earlier than usual. Make sure to keep that in mind. Until my next video, I will see you all soon.